Chatterwork is a very quick, easy, and simple way to add beautiful decoration and ornamentation to many of the objects that you will turn. Here are several examples in turned lidded boxes where in just seconds decoration has been added. Most people will think that it's hand carved and that it took hours to do. A chatter tool is a scraper. Most scrapers have very thick, heavy blades so that when they contact the wood, they make a smooth cut and leave a very smooth surface. A chatter tool is just the opposite. A thin, flexible blade contacts the wood and then vibrates wildly. It chatters. While it's doing this, it makes a horrible noise. That's how you know it's working. Depending on how you orient the tool to the wood, it'll give you an infinite variety of patterns. Some tools come with many different blades. The one I'm showing you here comes with 4 shapes: concave, convex, straight, and the V-point. Why? They all do different things and produce very different effects and very different looks, giving you a very, very wide range of possible patterns. This particular one has a stainless steel holding mechanism, and all the blades are made out of a long-lasting spring steel. Here's the chatter tool that we're going to use. This is something I made in the shop. I bought a Sorby blade to use in it. The blade is very thin, and when it engages the wood, it vibrates very, very easily. We need to do this, if we can, in one sweeping motion. If you'll add a little color, your chatterwork will really stand out. Sharpies are great for this. I'm just making a little V groove here to kind of delineate the chatterwork. Cleaning up the bottom here to match the top. And the next thing we want to do is get in here and create the spinning point. You want it to be sharp enough to spin well, but not so sharp that it'll dull and round over and get flat, because then the performance of the top will deteriorate quite rapidly. We can go down here pretty small, but we want to make the cut as clean as humanly possible. Here's our top all done. You can see the chatterwork patterns. I used oak for this particular top. It's not the best top in the world, but you make these things and give them away, so that's what I... This cut is with the V cutter. I'm going to make a couple of perimeter cuts, a couple of outline cuts. They'll give us some good chatter, and then I'll go back and make some sweeping cuts or swiping cuts, and that'll give us a large variety of different patterns here in a very small area. This particular cut is going to be with the dome-shaped or the curved or the convex cutter. And it looks a little ragged around the edges, but I'm going to show you a technique here to use just the center portion. And as you can see, I've got some grain pattern to this, and it impacted the pattern that we got from the chatter tool just a little bit. You'll want to do this a couple of different ways. This is cherry and it tends to burn, so I've chosen to make my layout marks with the concave cutter, the little the innie, the opposite of the convex. I've chosen to mark the edges and then use a spindle gouge to preform my little what's going to be a donut, and then go through there and see if I can make it without burning and chattering, see if I get a nice pattern without too much tear out, see how that looks, and then I'll go ahead and make a Chinese hat box out of this, which is an extremely popular design. This is a variation on a theme, but it is a Chinese hat box with a chatter tool work donut, which a lot of people find very, very attractive. I found it to be extremely popular. So when you're all done, it'll look something like this. In this upcoming sequence, I'll show you how we use the concave cutter and the straight cutter in combination. There are a gazillion ways to do this, so experiment. You'll come up with ones that you don't see here that look equally as good. There really is a difference in the diameter because you're talking about the surface speed of the wood. And I tried to make a chatter cut here at the same speed I made the larger cut with, the donut cut, and got absolutely nothing except a little noise. What a difference 3/4 of an inch makes. I moved out just a little bit with that straight edge chatter tool, and it worked like a champ. Now this might look a little ragged. You could go by, you could burnish it, and there's nothing that says that you can't sand it a little bit to mute the tool. If the pattern you got was a little bit rough, you can always lightly sand it and don't have to use the full depth of the chatter. On this particular pass, with the curved end blade installed in our scraper, we're going to try to make one sweep so we have one single facet without different zones. Then we'll trim it back and show you how it makes a really great lidded box. One of the best uses I've ever found for the chatter tool is to make almost like a center cabochon or a center feature, where you don't use the entire pattern that you made, but you use just the center portion of it. This is just a little V-groove here, kind of a picture frame effect. Something like this. I'm going to make a top hat style bottle stopper here, incorporating some chatter tool work. I won't add color, but I will show you what one looks like when we did add color. Some people love it, some people don't. You decide. Okay, I'm going to make a perfectly good bottle stopper go away, and I'll make you what could be a little top. Well, gee, that looks pretty good. Well, as nice as that is, what if we clean it off and do a two-stage? This we did in one sweeping motion and we just have one zone. What if we did a couple of deliberate motions and gave us two distinctly different zones? I wonder how that would turn out. I'm guessing pretty good. Here's a piece we made earlier where I had used the two little V grooves just as kind of a variation on a theme. I decided I'd go ahead and rework that piece, and I'd add the little donut outside of our centerpiece. So the first one turned out a little raggedy, second one was better, but this would be a prime example of where a little bit of 220 would soften this into a very, very nice shape. This one sounded great. When I made the first cut, I thought it was going to be beautiful. Turned out I got nothing. All I did was move out a ½ inch, and I got a beautiful cut. So I need to figure out some decoration to add there in the middle, and this piece will be a keeper. This is an excellent example of using two cutters on the same piece of work. I used the concave cutter for the first cut. I used the straight cutter, as you'll see it here, on the outward facet. From this angle, you get an excellent view of how the tool works, and made a very, very nice piece. There's an important lesson here. Toward the center of your piece, it's not spinning nearly as quickly as it is out toward the edge. And although the tool will cut, it's not moving quickly enough to give us the chatter that we're really looking for. So I got some nice V-cuts, but not with the chatter that I wanted. Using some of the methods I just showed you, and with the V-blade installed in our chatter tool, here are some beautiful tops made in what I call the Bonnie Klein style. Bonnie introduced this type of decoration many years ago. It's as popular today as it ever was. There are 7 very easy steps to achieving the perfect texture and color on your top. Before chattering, apply a base color, red or green, orange, purple, yellow, etc., to the area which you wish to texture. Most of the tops that you've seen previously, I applied a base color to 2 areas. I think we'll pick green just for the heck of it. Next, add the chatter work to the colored areas. Depending on how much material you removed, you might need to recolor this area. You can either do it with the lathe off or running very slowly to fill in the color. Let's add a silver highlight with the lathe running at high speed. Don't completely obliterate the chatterwork area, just touch the ridges. Don't use too much, you still want to see the base color. You can really set things off if you'll add accent lines or rings. I like to use either black or some dark color that goes with the color scheme I've chosen. You can add thin accent lines, thick accent lines, bold accent lines, vary it, spice it up. It really adds to the look. Okay, it's time to apply pure beeswax and melt it in. This will really make the colors pop. The beeswax will give everything a soft, warm glow. It will mute the colors and blend everything in, and you'll have a terrific look. Alright, time to part the top off and finish the tip. I like to use a neutral shoe polish or some other paste wax. A little rub with some 220 grit or 320 grit sandpaper will finish preparing the end and get it ready for our Chatterwork tool. If you've never used a Chatterwork tool, this view will give you a really good idea of how they work. The tool flutters and vibrates and chatters horribly, giving you a random pattern. They're not repeatable. The slower you run the lathe, the finer the Chatterwork pattern will be. And we don't want to cut super deep here. Just put it up there and let it scream and do its thing. Okay, I faced off the last one. Wanted you to have another view of exactly the same cut. This time cutting it a little deeper and running the lathe a little faster. So we got a much deeper, much larger, much bolder cut. Once you've done your Chatterwork, if you'll go back with a skew and outline it with a small little V-cut or even two little V-cuts on the inside and the outside, it really sets off the Chatterwork kind of in a picture frame style, and it will really make a dramatic difference. It doesn't look so haphazard, it looks finished. So here I'm using the long end of a skew. You could use something really pointy. I could actually stand the skew up and cut vertically if I wanted to. The camera really doesn't focus well on this ebony, but there you can get some idea of what it's supposed to look like. Here is yet another view for you, another Chatterwork. This time running the lathe very, very quickly, taking an extremely aggressive cut. Get a different result yet. I'm not making anything in particular here. These are just practice cuts so you can see what the Chatter tool can produce for you. Setting it off with our skew chisel, very, very, very small V grooves. I know some of the detail is kind of hard to see, so I took some snapshots for you to give you an idea of what that work actually turned out to be. On this very last sequence, that is how you prepare the disc, in this case ebony, to go into a top as an insert. You have to turn it around, then glue in this case, the maple top onto it. And if this were a real project, that's what we would have done. Although the chatterwork here is pretty well done, I've ruined this piece essentially by failing to clean out the finish. There's too much sanding sealer, there's too much lacquer, and there's too much wax. I didn't remove it in this photo. I did remove it later. This is a pitfall that you need to avoid at all costs because it'll take an otherwise really good chatter tool piece and make it look awful.